some people don't betray you all at once. They do it slowly, quietly, in the spaces between conversations, in the things they tell other people about you, in the version of yourself they construct behind your back while standing right next to you. Because by the time you understand what happened, you've already lost things you can't get back. Nadia was 31 years old when her relationship of 4 years ended. Marcus had been her first serious partner, the kind of love that recalibrates you, the kind that makes you think, this is it. This is the shape my life is supposed to take. When he ended it, he told her he'd felt disconnected from her for almost a year, that she had changed, that she never seemed fully present anymore, that somewhere along the way, she had become someone he didn't recognize. Nadia didn't understand it. But grief doesn't require understanding. It just arrives. And she let it. She told herself she was lucky to have Priya. They had been best friends since college. 12 years. The kind of friendship that survives distance and jobs and bad decisions and all the ordinary chaos of building a life. Priya had been the one who showed up the night Marcus left. She sat with Nadia on the kitchen floor, didn't try to fix anything, just stayed. Just stayed. Nadia would think about that night many times in the months that followed. The fact that Priya came. The fact that she stayed. She would think about it differently later. A year passed, then another. Nadia rebuilt slowly. The way you rebuild after something that reaches down into the foundation of you. She had a second relationship. Daniel. It lasted 8 months. He ended it quietly, with a conversation that felt strangely familiar, that she was hard to reach, that she seemed guarded, that something about the way people described her didn't match the person he'd hoped to find. Nadia sat with that for weeks. She went to therapy. She examined herself with the kind of honesty that is genuinely painful. She tried to understand what she was doing that was keeping people at a distance. Her therapist told her she seemed remarkably self-aware, that nothing she was describing sounded like a person who was closed off. Nadia thanked her and drove home and cried for 40 minutes in a parking garage. The third time, she almost didn't try. His name was Jerome. They met through mutual friends at a birthday dinner. He was careful and warm and said exactly what he meant, which Nadia had come to understand was rarer than it should be. They were good together in the small everyday ways that matter more than the grand gestures. Coffee in the morning, walking to nowhere on Sunday afternoons. The kind of quiet that feels like company rather than absence. She introduced him to her friends, including Priya. 3 months later, Jerome sat across from her at dinner and said he'd been hearing things that were making him uncertain. Nadia put her fork down. She asked him, very carefully, what he'd been hearing. Jerome was honest. He told her that Priya had said, on more than one occasion to more than one person in their shared circle, that Nadia struggled with honesty in relationships, that she had a habit of presenting a version of herself early on that didn't hold, that her exes had confided in Priya about a pattern, that there was a reason things never seemed to work out for Nadia. Jerome said he didn't know what to believe, that he cared about her, that he was telling her because he thought she deserved to know. Nadia sat very still. Then she asked which exes. Specifically, Jerome didn't know. He'd heard it secondhand. She drove home and didn't call Priya. She didn't text. She didn't confront. She didn't post anything or call anyone or do any of the things that the burning feeling in her chest was urging her to do. She made tea. She sat at her kitchen table, and she thought. She thought about Marcus, about the words he had used. Changed, not present, someone I don't recognize. She thought about Daniel, hard to reach, guarded, the way people describe her. She thought about every person in their friend group who had grown slightly cooler toward her over the years in ways she could never quite explain. Every invitation that came just slightly late. Every conversation that felt like it started slightly after she arrived, and she thought about Priya, sitting on her kitchen floor, staying. She did not move fast. She started paying attention to things she hadn't paid attention to before. She noticed what Priya said about her when she was being complimented. The way Priya always added something. A softener. A qualification. Nadia's great, but she can be a lot. You'd love her if you caught her on a good day. She means well, she just doesn't always read the room. She started keeping notes. Dates, direct quotes, situations. Nothing she couldn't verify. Nothing she was guessing at. She is a precise person. She did this precisely. She reached out to Marcus. Not from hope, not from grief, from clarity. She asked if he'd be willing to have one honest conversation. She told him she wasn't looking to revisit anything. She just needed to understand something that had been unresolved for 2 years. He agreed. They met for coffee. She asked him where he'd gotten the idea that she had changed, who he'd talked to about their relationship in the year before it ended. The answer was Priya. He had run into her at a gallery opening about 14 months into their relationship. They'd talked. Priya had been, he searched for the word, concerned. She'd said Nadia had confided in her that she was feeling trapped, that she'd been saying for months that she wasn't sure the relationship was what she wanted, that she didn't know how to tell him. Marcus had believed it because why wouldn't he? It came from her closest friend. None of it was true. She contacted Daniel next. Same conversation, same clarity, same careful question, same answer. Priya had reached out to Daniel directly, 2 months into his relationship with Nadia. An old friend checking in. She'd mentioned she was worried, that Nadia had a history she probably hadn't told him about, that her previous partners had all experienced the same slow withdrawal, the same emotional unavailability, that it wasn't Nadia's fault. She'd had a difficult past, but Daniel should probably know. Nadia read Daniel's messages 3 times. Then she added them to the folder she had been building quietly for 6 weeks. She thought about what Priya wanted. She had turned this over in her mind from every angle. She was not a person who needed a villain. She was not looking for a simple answer to a complicated thing. But some things are not complicated. Priya had wanted what Nadia had. The same kind of love. The same ease with people. The same sense of arriving into a room and having it feel like welcome. She had wanted Marcus specifically. Nadia knew that now from a comment Marcus made almost in passing about an awkward text Priya had sent him a year after the breakup. And she had wanted, somewhere under all of it, to be the person Nadia turned to. The only one. The one who stayed. The one who was always there. The one who was there because she had made sure there was nowhere else to go. Nadia didn't confront her. She did something quieter, more permanent. She stopped sharing. Not dramatically, not coldly. She didn't ghost or cut or make any sudden moves that Priya could point to. She stayed present. She answered texts. She showed up to the things she was invited to. She just stopped handing Priya anything she could use. What she did instead was start talking honestly with the people in her life. Not about Priya, not an accusation, just honestly. She told Jerome the truth about her last 2 relationships, what had actually happened, what she'd actually felt, the facts, unfiltered, with none of the softening she had always applied because she hadn't wanted to seem like someone who badmouthed people she'd been close to. Jerome listened. He cross-referenced it quietly against things he had heard. The math didn't add up in Priya's direction. He stayed. Over the following months, Nadia had versions of that conversation with 3 other people in their circle. All of it factual. All of it documentable. None of it framed as an attack. Just her account of her own life, told clearly, for the first time. People are more perceptive than we give them credit for. When someone you've known for years suddenly gets to tell their own story, and that story doesn't match the story you've been hearing, something shifts. It shifted. Priya texted her in February, a long message, careful and hurt and written like someone who had rehearsed it. She said she felt like Nadia had been pulling away, that she didn't understand what she'd done, that she valued their friendship more than anything and couldn't stand the idea that something was wrong. Nadia read it twice. She typed a response. Calm and specific. She said she had spent a long time trying to understand why her relationships kept ending the same way, with the same language, with the same observations she didn't recognize in herself. She said she now understood why. She said she didn't think Priya was a monster. She said she thought Priya was someone who had made choices that caused a tremendous amount of damage over a very long time. And she said she wished her well. She pressed send. Then she blocked the number, closed the app, and went to make coffee. Jerome is still there. So are the friends who stayed when Nadia started telling the truth. There are fewer of them than before. That's the thing no one tells you about cleaning out the damage. You lose some things you thought were real that turned out to be built on the same shaky foundation. But the ones who stayed knew Nadia now. Actually knew her. That was new. That was worth everything it had cost. The hardest part of what Priya did was not the relationships she ended. It was the years Nadia spent believing the problem was herself. The hours in parking garages, the therapy sessions trying to locate a flaw that didn't exist, the slow erosion of confidence in her own ability to be loved. That is what is unforgivable. Not the jealousy. Jealousy is human, not even the lying. The part where someone who claimed to love you used that love as a system of control, used your trust as the door through which they walked to take things from you. That part. That is the part that takes the longest to name. But Nadia named it. And once she named it, she stopped letting it define her. That is the ending. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Not the satisfying crash of consequence landing on someone who deserves it. Just a woman who figured out what had been done to her, told the truth about it, and chose herself. Sometimes that is the most devastating outcome of all. The person who built her isolation counted on her staying isolated. She didn't. If this story reached you at the right time, you know what to do. Subscribe. Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one. Until next time, stay patient, stay sharp, stay quiet.